Welcome to the OC Pod, where we discuss all things concerning the lifestyle, businesses, and activities that make Orange County such a great place to live. I am Holly McDonald. I'm a local realtor here in Orange County and a community connector, bringing you the best of the best. And today I'm with Taylor over at Open Aerial Yoga and Pilates. Taylor, thank you for having us.
Thanks for having me.
I love this setup. It's a little bit different, fun.
Thank you. I was excited you were down for it.
Yes, of course. So, okay, share with us a little bit about Open Aerial. When did you guys open? What do you guys do here?
So I opened Open Aerial Yoga and Pilates in Huntington Beach 18 months ago. And I came here all the way from Seattle and chose Huntington Beach specifically to open the first aerial yoga studio because it really speaks to my brand and the culture and the vibe. Everything is pink. It's by the beach. I also host retreats. And I feel like Huntington is just the perfect, fun, younger, active crowd. And it's been the best 18 months ever. We've actually served over 2,300 people to their first aerial yoga class.
Yeah, that is so awesome. That's a lot of people.
It's legendary.
18 months, incredible. And so, what is your background?
I actually have a bachelor's degree in sign language interpreting, and I only did that for a couple of years until I started moonlighting by teaching aerial yoga. I started teaching just out of love for it. I stumbled upon a studio. I just walked past it in college, and I saw the hammocks in the window and was like, oh my God, I need to do this immediately. And then I did 3 classes a day constantly for about a year. And then COVID happened. I had to move back to Seattle and I did a teacher training and got hired at a studio called Flight Room. And I'm still really close with all the owners and teachers there. And they just really gave me everything I needed to do to succeed and gave me tons of classes. They let me do retreats and teacher trainings on retreats, just like a whole nother thing. And I just picked everything up so quickly and knew so early on that it was something that was worth switching up my entire life for and risking it all for. When I graduated college, I decided that I wanted to move to Orange County because it's my favorite place in the world. I've taken vacations here many times before I moved here. And I ended up opening the studio a couple of years after I moved. It took a lot more work and time than I ever imagined before I opened. But man, by the time we opened, it has just been packed. It's amazing.
Great. So how did you identify that this location, this area would be a good spot to open an aerial yoga studio?
First, it was my intuition. I remember my commercial real estate agent asked me where we wanted to look. And even though I do live in Newport, for some reason, that like Newport area, I just like couldn't see it there. I can't explain it. Mm-hmm. It didn't fit. And then also the landlords over there wanted to let people hang from the ceiling because that's a pretty big issue trying to open an aerial studio is landlords are kind of like, oh, that's like not my ideal thing. And then I remember I actually made a map and gave it to my real estate agent of like yellow and green and red color coded. Like this is my first choice, second choice, and third choice, zip codes, areas, cross streets. And Beach and Main Street / Beach and Ellis, we're right here, we're literally looking at it, gets 65,000 cars pass it a day. And I know that because we pay every penny for it. When you sign a commercial lease, they like give you all those stats. So a lot of visibility here. It is smack dab in the middle of Huntington Beach. We're equidistant from the 405 freeway and the ocean. There's just hundreds of thousands of residential spaces here, meaning that it's a heart of the community and we want people to come in here and take classes daily. So that's really important. And there's also a little bit more boring side of it is I had a consultant through the Small Business Development Center of Orange County and they ran a Biz Minor report for me. And according to Biz Minor, which has like all the data and all the demographics for everything, this was like an exact pin of where this was going to really work. And it was already where my intuition led me. So that worked out really well and also helped us get a lease signed by a landlord because we had
Awesome. And then I know from talking to you that it was a little bit of a struggle to find a spot on the commercial side. So I know, I interview a ton of small businesses. I have a lot of friends with small businesses and I've heard different plights. What was that process like for you? What did you take from it? What advice do you have?
So when I moved here, I thought that I could just call the phone number on the side of a building, like an apartment, and be like, hey, can I meet up with you and give you some money and sign a lease? That's what it's been like every time I've rented an apartment. So it turns out that's not how it goes at all. Similar to a mortgage for a commercial property, there's a lot of paperwork. You have to have a lot of capital. There's a personal guarantee, especially because this is my first brick and mortar business. So it came down to my personal finances, which gratefully at the time I had an incredible job that gave me the background to be approved for a lease like this. I also have an amazing real estate agent that helped me out a lot. And we also we got in here because it was already a Pilates studio before. So there's a lot of back end stuff that was taken care of. And then it also meant that I didn't have to have any tenant improvements. We didn't do any construction, which meant that the landlord had a benefit for us to come in here because we weren't going to erect any walls or demolish anything. So I will say, if any small business owner is looking for a commercial property, that you have to have a real estate agent. If you just call, it's not going to work. A professional landlord is almost never going to work with somebody that like just directly, like they want the real estate agent there to make sure that both parties really know what's going on, because it's a really serious document. Commercial real estate leases are usually 5 years. So I was calling people and no one would return my calls, or people over the phone would just be like, no, we're not going to rent to a 25-year-old girl. But then as soon as my real estate agent started calling for me, I started making appointments and signed a lease pretty quickly after I hired a real estate agent.
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point. The leases for commercial are very, very long.
No one should be signing that without an attorney and a real estate agent.
Yeah.
There's no way.
They're a lot longer than just your normal lease agreement.
Yes.
And a lot more expensive.
Yes. And then even LoopNet is like the Zillow of commercial real estate. The numbers make no sense. It's like, have you heard of toilet paper math? Toilet paper math is like, this roll equals 13 rolls. It makes no sense to a layperson. You need a commercial real estate agent to work with you for that. Otherwise, you're going to think rent, you're going to do the math and be like, oh, rent's only $5,000. And they're like, oh no, it's 10. You didn't do the math right.
Yeah. And I mean, I think honestly, just like with like a residential transaction, either way, you need somebody to like interpret for you and protect you, just like you had. So to share your commercial agent, because I know a lot of people that.
Yes, Brian Reyes at Tagram Real Estate. Love him.
Awesome.
I'd highly recommend.
Good to know. Lots of people with businesses pay attention to this. So tell me a little bit about like the classes and what you offer here. That's the fun stuff.
Yes, I know. So we have 3 main categories of our classes. We have yoga, Pilates, sound baths, and all of them are aerial. Aerial yoga, aerial Pilates, aerial sound bath. And then we have a little kids program. Aerial yoga is going to be using the hammock as the ultimate prop. And it's going to help you lengthen and strengthen your muscles to get all of the benefits that you know and love from yoga and Pilates on the mat or on the reformer. But it keeps people a lot more engaged because that added element of fun, right? Like it's fun, it looks cool, you get pretty pictures and videos. Just keeps people really engaged, because the most common we see group fitness studios across the board is people start, they do an interoffer for 2, 3, 4 weeks. And then for whatever reason, they just wake up one day and they don't do the same routine that they had been doing for a few weeks, and they don't come back and they don't renew. So we want people to keep coming because we want people to reach the goals that they set for themselves when they signed up. I myself am addicted to group fitness. I go to every yoga and Pilates studio around here. Like I know everybody. It is like my biggest hobby, which is very convenient considering I own this place and I love networking with other studio owners. And yeah, the hammock just really adds that extra element of fun for the yoga, for the stretching, for the Pilates, for the strengthening, and then the sound healing. We get to lay all the way down in the hammock during the sound bath. And because you're floating, the sound is able to travel through your body better because it's not being absorbed by the ground at all. And we'll also walk the instruments around and put it under or around you, bring it around your head so you can play in stereo. And then we also have a kids program on Thursdays where we have a class for kids ages 7 to 12. And that's always super packed. It's really fun to watch the kids play.
So yeah, when my daughter turns 7 next year,
yay!
She would love this. This would be her jam.
We'll bring her in anytime. If she's a little younger, we're just kind of keeping an eye on her.
She's definitely tall enough. So. But I love the whole factor of the sound bath being like elevated and everything. That sounds amazing. Special. Was that something that you had done at your previous studio?
No. So I had never heard of sound baths in my life.
Welcome to California.
Right. Yeah. That was like not a thing in Seattle, at least not in my bubble. Right when I moved to Newport, I was walking on the beach. I was like, I can walk to the beach now. I live in Newport. So I was like going on my walk, and I walked by a sound bath. I didn't know what it was. I saw, and this girl was like standing there ready to like receive people as they walked by. Like I could tell she was like a host involved in the event. And she just came up to me and was like, oh my God, you would love this. Like follow me on Instagram. It's so cool. And we stayed in touch a lot. Like we DM'd each other a lot. She really watched my journey of the studio. When we opened, she was like one of the main people that was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And so it's Soraya. I'd love to shout her out and I'll tag her. So Zariah introduced me to it kind of, and then also Kyle Lamb, one of my dear friends. I went to one of his sound baths before we opened, and he just introduced himself to me really humbly, and I just felt a connection with him, and we talked a lot. And then right when I got the keys, he was one of the first people I texted. I was like, I want our soft launch to be a sound bath, like invite only, friends and family. And he was so excited. So our first event we ever had in here was on a Thursday night with Kyle Lamb. The place for a sound bath of our friends and family, and it was so beautiful. It was a perfect inaugural class, a little soft opening. And then now Kyle rents a studio about once a month and still hosts floating sound baths with us. But we have an in-house sound bath about once a week, every Sunday. And then we add sound healing to our yin class on Wednesdays.
Oh my gosh. That all sounds so magical.
It is. It's palatial.
No, I knew you were saying before that you'd like to have people that are able to come in, like make it part of their routine.
Yeah.
How often do people typically come in? Is it like daily? Is it a couple times a week?
Well, we've had people take as many as 50 classes in 30 days, which sounds a lot like me. As soon as I found out aerial yoga existed, I did my whole personality. The average student comes 7 times a month, or a little over 7 times a month. I know the exact numbers because I'm really type A. And that is slightly higher than what you might see a average studio do. Just a little bit more. Anything like heated or like reformer Pilates is going to have a lot higher use because those are just so addicting, including myself. I'm addicted to both those things. But for regular group fitness based studio, we see people come about 7 times a month. So people usually get the unlimited. And then we also have a mini membership, which is 4 classes a month for that person that's not quite coming that average of 7 a month. And they're also not coming 50 times a month like some people, but just someone who's like, I'm already doing something else. And this is like a fun supplement I do once a week. And I have a favorite class time with a favorite teacher. Or for somebody who isn't doing anything else and they are just barely even getting used to moving their body, it's a great way for them to warm up. But most people come a few times a week.
Okay. And so there are a lot of different instructors here. Do you instruct as well? How does that work?
I do teach. I just taught a class before the podcast, actually. We have a team of 6 or 7 right now. It used to be a lot bigger. Now, if anything bad happened, I swear to God. We just, for the record. No, we had a handful of girls this year just move away, major life events, relocating for work, things like that, okay?
Well, and colleges is starting back up and all of that.
Yeah. So we've got a team of 6 or 7 right now, including our sound healing staff. And all of our teachers started as students and then do our in-house teacher training because there's nowhere else that teachers would come from, right? Like I can't just make a post on LinkedIn and be like, teach aerial yoga. Like nobody does that because I built this first studio. So I have to actually train them. So teacher training is a huge priority for me. And teacher training season for me is like a blackout month. It's like the only thing I can do, sleep, breathe, teacher training, and get these girls to be ready to teach classes. And it's also really fun. And sometimes people might not take our teacher training necessarily to work here. Maybe they work at other studios. Maybe they even open their other studios or teach on retreats or do their own teacher trainings. And that's cool too. But we definitely love it when people do want to stick around, and teacher training is the best.
Do they have to have like other requirements to do the training? Do they have to have a background in exercise training or anything like that?
No, I think it definitely helps to have that teaching wise. And it would also help to have a lot of classes at the studio under your belt, especially if you do want to teach. But I'm really about like, as long as a teacher is teaching classes that are safe and they're using the method correctly after our teacher training, I don't require that they have all these external things necessarily, but we do put them through rigorous training during the teacher training and then after teacher training, and then a lot of practice classes. And then I supervise our classes for a long time, and we have all the standards documented, and they can get grades down to like certain points for every single class they take.
Okay, awesome. Yeah.
But we can provide that for them is what I'm saying.
You have a lot of systems, which is great.
Very type A.
Yes.
Everything has a system here.
That is what I'm
That's the only way this worked.
Definitely. I mean, it is working because you have, classes and everything, which is
and a lot of staff. Yep, we have all of our teachers. We have a front desk sales team as well.
Nice.
Big help.
Very cool. So you just mentioned a little bit about the blackout month where you're basically training. But you also mentioned that you help people if they're looking to build their own yoga or fitness studio.
Yeah, that's something that I've been really into. Even like right when I first opened my studio, I noticed that a lot of yoga and Pilates studio owners, the way they interact with other studio owners was very, like every industry has their own little culture, but it was kind of like the default was to kind of like have a guard up and be like, oh, like I have the studio and you have the studio, but like we're like in competition. And from the beginning, I felt the opposite. Like when I see a new studio open, I'm like, oh my God, I cannot wait to meet the owner and figure out their story. And I'm going to like look at all their marketing. And if I have any tips, I want to tell them. Like if I go to their website or their Google My Business or the Instagram and there's like not a best practice on there, I'm like, I could literally tell this to them and change their life. And I've never felt the need to not do that for some reason.
Yeah, you're supportive.
I don't know. Yeah, I love it. And then it started just in like Facebook groups. I'm like, I cannot scroll past a question from a studio owner on Facebook or Reddit without answering. And if they need even a document or a spreadsheet or a template, I will just send it to them. And I was doing that constantly. And then I realized that, especially now that I have so much staff and we have help at the front desk, I did end up having like quite a bit more breathing room in my schedule. So the project that I started was just more formally helping women that already have studios that need some help that were admiring my studio, or women that, these are usually yoga and Pilates teachers 99% of the time, that have always had this fantasy opening their own studio, and they hear my story and they realize that I started from knowing nothing about this kind of stuff.
You started from a class that you saw walking by in college.
Yeah, and what I went to school for has nothing to do with this or business at all. So I feel like I can explain things to people in a really consumable way. And yeah, that's something that I just adore, is helping people either start from zero. Again, if you're just a yoga or Pilates teacher and you have this twinkle in your eye of a studio, I'd love to chat. And people that already have yoga and Pilates studios that need help. And a big catalyst for that too was I could already tell a lot of my followers on social media were other studio owners, right? I'm kind of like, okay, like we have 11,000 followers on Instagram, not gonna brag. But I'm like, these are not all people that live in Huntington Beach that want to do yoga. Like there's a lot of studios on here checking me out because I know what I'm doing. And then so I just started being really friendly with them again online and just like messaging every student that follows me like, hey, thanks for the follow. Like, I'm just curious, like, do you need help with anything? What do you like about my page? Is there anything you want me to send you or give you or do for you? And it's just been so fun to have this network online of studio owners that I can help with things. So that was a major catalyst, was knowing that many followers on our website and Instagram were studio owners that wanted to talk to me about business and not about aerial yoga. And then when I had my own segment on the Real Housewives of Orange County, that got a lot of inbound messages. Like that's when the studio owners really were like, girl, how did you do that? Like, I want you to show me exactly how you did that. And I'm like, sure, here's a link.
Did you reach out? Did they contact you?
The Real Housewives of Orange County reached out to me. The producers are local.
Yeah.
So the producer, she just loves the studio and was like, hey, we're looking for stuff to do on next season. Can we rent the space out for a private class? I said, yeah. And they happened to film it. And we actually made the cut, which is a big deal. So apparently, now that I've lived here long enough to like know that a lot of businesses, end up kind of getting on the show, or everyone always has a story of like, oh, I was on the peninsula and like they were filming whatever. So apparently a lot of businesses like close for the day and film, and then they like don't use it. And a lot of people that I know have had that happen. So they could not promise me a second of airtime.
Yeah.
But it took all day. We did a class, we did a sound bath. I had staff here. It was this whole thing in February. And then I had an NDA that expired the day the episode aired, which was July 3rd, which thank God, because that's the deadest dead of the summer for group fitness. Like it's very seasonal. If I had to pick the slowest day of the year on a map, it would have been July 31st. And that's when my episode aired. So thank God, things just always magically work out for me. It's been like that my whole life. I know, thank goodness. My NDA expired like the second the episode aired because I couldn't tell when I was on it till it aired. So I just went crazy on social media. We threw a watch party. We had like, oh my God, we had this open house. It was so fun. So it was fun to see the community come together of people that already knew about the studio and want to take classes. It was also really cool to see how many studio owners out there were like, oh my gosh, girl, like that's really cool. Like what marketing could I do for my studio to set me up to receive opportunities like that?
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, and I want to ask you, this is kind of an interesting question, but obviously you're in a very niche form.
Extremely.
And there are other studios in the area that do aerial, but there's not Yeah, but not a lot. I mean,
That's not their like main thing. I think that's where we set apart is every single class uses the hammock.
That's true. But what would you say if somebody was looking to do Pilates or yoga, what would make them gravitate toward this? And would there be anybody that this wouldn't be a good fit for?
Right? That's a great question because you can only know who your target market is if you know who it isn't. This is going to be for the person that has started and stopped workouts at other studios and likes the idea of working out. And then as soon as you do it, you hate it. You feel like you're going to puke. You have to find the workout that you like. So for example, I can't run to save my life and I can barely ride a bicycle, but I love aerial yoga specifically. I also love hot yoga. Shout out to Radiant Hot Yoga at Newport Beach. I've had membership there for 4 years. And spin. I love to do spin at Moxie. So those are things, and aerial yoga, obviously. Those are things that I love so much that I'm not doing them just to work out. I'm doing them because I enjoy the activity. And a lot of people find that with aerial yoga, again, just like the hammocks. And then, of course, they're pink. So it's like even more fun and cute. You get even cuter pictures afterwards. This is the workout for the person that gets bored after doing a 2-week trial on a mat or on a reformer. And then they can't figure out like what is stopping me from reaching my goals. So people who have already experienced that somewhere else are going to come here and find themselves being more engaged and having more fun. The element of the hammock also, there's some swinging. And when we're in Shavasana, we're cradled in this cocoon. And there's a lot of analogies towards healing your inner child and feeling like you're swaddled like a baby. But yeah, so people really enjoy that aspect of it. And that helps with retention and people, when we keep students for a long time, again, they literally reach the goals that they want for themselves. And I say that this wouldn't be for someone who wants a really sweaty workout. We are not doing any cardio in here. Yoga, by just definition, is just not like that. We don't have like sculpt classes, but we do have yoga Pilates where we incorporate the principles of Pilates into the class and as well as yoga and stretching at the end, of course, going upside down. And Pilates is it's like ballet, right? It's very slow and you connect to your breath and not the music. And it's very poised and you will rarely like have sweat beating off of you, if that makes sense. So I do love a class like that, but not every time I work out. So if I'm craving that, I'll go to hot yoga. But if I'm craving like a big, crazy, sweaty workout, this isn't it. This is where we're going to come to like slowly connect with our mind and our breath, lengthen and strengthen, whether we're doing that in a yoga class or a Pilates class or a sound bath. And again, none of our classes are heated. That would be horrible. In the hammock.
Gross, actually. I wanted to ask you too, regarding when you're here in the classes, is there anything that you would say is like an added benefit health-wise? Because it seems to me like your upper body strength would just have to be insane here.
Yeah, so it definitely gets stronger in your upper body strength. A lot of new students are surprised how sore their fingers are specifically. So your grip strength, because you're holding on to the hammock to use the muscles in your biceps and your chest, you're going to have to hold on to the hammock too. So upper body strength for sure.
Your ankles too. I did aerial yoga once before you guys were open. And I just remember my ankles.
Yeah. So you'd be surprised. Wrists, ankles, hands. And then inversions are the major health benefits. So I make a joke a lot when I teach, when we invert, which is going upside down. I say, all right, now we're upside down. I'm going to give you guys a little extra time here because I know this is everyone's favorite part of class. Otherwise we'd be somewhere else, right? Like if you can choose between here and there's dozens of studios in driving distance of here, the thing that makes us different is the hammock, and we use it the whole class. But the most value we get from the hammock is definitely going to be inversions. So in aerial yoga, we go upside down twice, warm up our inversion, and then go into our flows. And then our peak pose is going to be an inversion and like a funner one, more at the end with a little bit more free time. And then our aerial yoga Pilates classes, we do a mat Pilates inspired workout using the hammock and the mat as a prop, of course, with all of our weights and stuff. And then we always just end in an inversion to just lengthen out the body before we cool down in the yoga Pilates class.
Awesome. Okay, so I have a couple of just like logistical questions. How long are your classes usually?
Usually an hour. We have a couple 50-minute class formats, but usually an hour.
Okay. And as far as when do the classes typically happen, what's the schedule like here? I know it probably changes, but in general.
Our schedule is actually pretty consistent. It's consistent enough that I have printed copies at the desk, but every time we make a tweak to the schedule, I'm like, oh my God, I have to reprint these. This is crazy. Our classes, we have the longest blocks of classes during the week in the evening, like after work vibe. This workout specifically, for some reason, is really like evening heavy. Aerialists, just like people who do aerial, tend to be nighttime workouters. And then, because morning classes are better for like a hard workout, right? Like I do my hard workouts in the morning, but I do this at night.
Yeah, get it out of the way.
And just like energize yourself for the morning. And then we also find people to be very social at our studio. We have a really close community here, and we have 30 minutes between classes. There's a lot of time to socialize and also a lot of time to take pictures and videos. And I know myself taking classes at 6 a.m. all the time. There's a lot of people that go to those classes with me that I don't talk to in class, but we're friends on like social media because it's 6 a.m. We're not hanging out. Like we're hanging out. Like we got shit to do, right? So people come here to be social and to come early and stay late. So it just seems to be a little bit heavier in the evenings here, but we do have morning classes. And on the weekends, we have our bigger blocks in the mornings, of course, for Saturdays and Sundays.
Okay. And then do people typically have to just pre-register? Is there like a waiting list or anything like that?
Yeah, you'll definitely want to register just because there's a finite amount of hammocks. And if you weren't registered and the class was full, there just wouldn't be a hammock for you. We want to make sure that there's a hammock for you when you get here.
Okay. And one last thing, I believe, retreats. Do you guys do retreats?
We do. So I actually did my first teacher training on a retreat at this venue in Puerto Vallarta called Shinalani. And that is just like my second home. Oh my God, they love me over there and I love them. But I've gone there countless times and they just really roll out the red carpet for us over there. And it's just always such a cool full circle moment to be teaching and leading my own retreats, being like, hey guys, like this is where my story started. Like you want something like this to happen to you, you have to do things like this, right? So I would do the retreats there. Teacher trainings are here, but the retreat, my favorite retreat center is in Puerto Vallarta. And we're going again in May. It's 7 days of just aerial yoga all the time, morning, noon, evening. You don't have to go to all the classes. You can just go to some of them. And right on the ocean in Puerto Vallarta at a resort. It's amazing.
Sounds so relaxing.
It's relaxing, but it's also fun.
Yeah, hard, fun, relaxing, all the things. Amazing, amazing. Well, I think this looks like so much fun. I have not taken a class here yet, but I will for sure because I am just obsessed. I've been sitting in this hammock bopping for like the last 30 minutes. And also everybody should come check it out. Check out one of her classes, her sound baths, all of the things. Where can people find you online?
We're really easy to find. OpenAerialYoga.com. And our Instagram is open.aerial.
Awesome. Well, Taylor, thank you so much. And people, please reach out if you are having any desire to open a fitness studio because you do the consulting and everything. So you can give some awesome tips.
Yes,
thank you.